Welcome back to the rest of the story. Well, I'm going to do a quick project, or however long this video is going to take, shall I say. I'm not going to lie to you. The switch here for the raise and lower for the 3-point arms is faulty. This is all it is. It's a really simple switch. We fed bales the other day. You guys saw that. All we did was, this is to actually adjust how far it drops, and then you can use the switch. But what Ryan was doing was he was using this to control the height on it, so we didn't have to worry about the arms dropping, because the problem that we have with it is that it's unreliable. That little switch is shorting out in some way, shape, or form. And what it did it to Ryan once, but it didn't do it on the highway for him. But it did it for me. I pulled out of the driveway with the bale in the back of the tractor here, and just as I got up to speed, the 3-point arm suddenly dropped, and it dropped a fodder bale going down the highway. Luckily, no one was behind me. Nobody got hurt. I didn't even bother traffic because nobody else was on the road. And I didn't have any, I really didn't lose much of the bale. I just lost like 3 broom pushes of fodder. So it was a pretty minor, luckily a minor accident. But it took me a few days to get the part in. And all it is this. I've never had to take this off before. As with always, I did replace this switch last fall, late fall, early winter. I'm not really sure what it's all going to take to get to this, because all it is a little tabbed switch up in here. I know I got to take this off and the side panel off, and that'll allow me to see up underneath to see what it'll take to get to it. I'm not quite sure yet if I'll have to take this off, or I'll end up pulling the whole cover off, this whole panel, or if I can just leave it on and maybe just get to it from underneath. But battery life is a concern right now, so I'll just get you guys caught up after I get going. Okay, I slowed this shot down for you so you can see this is what that assembly looks like, completely torn apart. You can see straight in the middle of the screen is the switch I have to remove. And that's about the best shot I have of this as far as footage goes. Well, I kind of bumped over the whole disassembly process for the simple fact of it's kind of boring. I believe I've done a video on it before, and just tearing stuff apart, it's more or less just time consuming as far as being all that interesting. And as far as taking the switch out, there was a little bit of aggravation there because I've never taken it out before, which I think is abundantly clear at this point, and just trying to figure out what all I had to remove to get to it, to take it out. Wasn't terrible in the end. It's just being able to get to it, and I had to tear apart the whole side console to do it. I'm kind of taking a farmer's way shortcut. As you can see, that I just set the new switch down. It was originally made to be replaced by putting new clip ends on it and putting it into that wiring harness. Well, unfortunately, I'm not equipped with those wire ends that go into that harness, so I said I have a torch and some solder. So I cut the wires down to the appropriate length for the most part, and I soldered the wires together. Seems maybe kind of a unnecessary way to do it to some, I guess. But to be quite honest, I've gone this way on many projects in the past, and I would almost rather use solder anyway, because the clips, the harness, everything works just fine. I'm not having issues there, and I wasn't about to leave this tractor tore apart for another 2 days so I could go get the wire ends. But soldering is pretty easy once you get the hang of it. It's like a type of welding to me. I mean, you just control the amount of heat that goes to it and just melt it together. It seems to hold together a lot better. I was originally told, it was originally recommended to me to cut the wires, but instead of soldering, it was recommended just to use wire nuts and just
connect the wires that way. And myself, I'd just said I'd rather use solder. It's a lot more dependable, especially down where this is going. This is kind of a bear to get to. The seat, if you could remove the seat, which yes you could, to do this, it'd be a little bit easier so you can get down and maybe see what you're doing a little bit better. But to be quite honest, I'm not gonna go to the work of removing the seat out of that tractor just for the simple job like this. Oh, the wiring. At this point, I'm putting it back together. I'm putting the switch in right now. I did accelerate this whole process by four times the original speed, for the simple fact of if I did this in real time, I would have just this part alone about an hour of footage, and this way you guys can see the process it takes to do this. It took a little bit to get that back together, just everything lined up, but there's only one hex bolt that holds that together, and that little switch that's hanging down below it. That's all that holds that box together. And it took a little bit to figure out how it goes apart because, like I said, I've had instances before in the past where I've torn something apart and you remove one piece and the whole thing just falls apart in your hands. So you kind of like to take it apart in a controlled manner so you can figure out how to put it back together. And you're going to see I got the switch back in, and now I'm just making sure all the wires are clearing and I can move all the levers and everything. It's not going to hit, it's not going to bind. And I got everything tightened. Then I'm going to put a black tape, electrical tape. I'm going to wrap all these wires up, keeps them protected for the main reason. Also, it keeps them back up out of the way, out of the levers, because it is a really tight fit where they're going, and the hydraulic levers run very close to where this wire runs through, and I don't need that wire, any of those wires for that matter, eventually getting rubbed and failing and having to tear this apart again, because electrical issues on tractors can be kind of a bear sometimes to diagnose. But this switch wasn't terrible to tear apart, but I guess I didn't do a comparison video of the two switches together. The old switch was very, very shot as far as the amount of movement and play it had in it compared to how tight the new one is. In any given day, an actual operating day, like in the summer when we're hauling or anything like that, or even when we're putting bales out, I mean, we hit that switch, it could be up hundreds of times in a day, and that adds up over a set amount of time. But this is the assembly process. You can see I had it all torn apart. Anybody that's wondering why I'm not using a electric drill to put these back in is simply because when I do it by hand with the screwdriver, getting all these bolts in, I don't have to risk tearing the heads out or stripping the heads out. With the screwdriver, it's a little bit easier on it. It allows me to get them tight without damaging the heads. Because I've had to take this off numerous times, you get kind of used to it after a while. Yeah, you can see it's trying to make sure all the bolts are in, because some are covered by that plastic sheet or plastic cover there, and some aren't. And I made the mistake of putting some in beforehand that, see, I had to move over there. But the 76 has been a minor maintenance tractor as far as having too many issues with it. It's been really reliable. The tractor has done a lot of work for us in the last 3 or 4 years compared to the first couple years that I had it. The first years that I had it up to 2014, when we were milking, I put, I think, up to 200 to 300 hours on it a year. It was mainly just for cutting hay and disking and simple jobs like that. As you guys have seen since watching the rest of the story. The 76 is the runaround tractor. It is the road runner. It is the one tractor that will run year around. I would like to get something else another loader tractor to take some of the work away from the 76. Probably won't ever get to where it goes back to just sitting all winter again, unfortunately. But it's a chore tractor. It's been demoted. Maybe not a glorious way of saying it, but the tractor, it's a go-to tractor anymore. It's just like the 7400 was, or the 2955, or the 4230 when my grandpa was here. So it's nice when you have a reliable tractor to be a decent chore tractor. Myself, I would like to look into, I will someday have another tractor to replace the 76 as far as the role of only being used for a set number of months, like the 4640 and the 8235R, but I don't know. Big dreams, but cash flow has to be there too, of course. But with every year that passes, things are getting better for us. Things are gradually improving. We are always better than the previous year when it comes to the farm standings, so that's always something to be proud of. And it looks like I'm running out of time. So I'm going to take the camera back over and talk to you guys a little bit on this last clip here, and I'll talk to you guys later.
The job is done. I got the new switch in, everything is back together. I'm not sure what I've all told you up to this point because I know I'm going to be doing some voiceover work, but the switch is back in. It clicks a lot firmer than the other switch, so the other one was definitely starting to show some wear. The job wasn't all that bad. From start to finish, it took me 2 hours. It took me longer to tear it apart than it did to put it back together. The most worrisome part is just tearing it apart and making sure you're not going to cause more damage. I've never taken that switch box or this whole control piece apart, and there goes the air compressor. But once I did, it wasn't so bad, but I wasn't entirely sure how it came apart, so it took a little bit to get that figured out. But I'm just glad it's back together. I have one more job to do for this 76 here. It's really not too concerning, but if I gotta take the seat out to get to it, chances are I'm gonna work on the mechanical suspension of the seat and hit it with WD-40 really well and try to alleviate that squeak that you guys keep reminding me of. But that's all I got for this. I'll talk to you guys later, so take care, take it easy, and keep in touch.